You are not being underpaid because the company is struggling, nor because the market is down, nor because HR hasn't noticed your hard work. You are being underpaid because your compliance has already been tested, measured, and guaranteed. In corporate warfare, a depressed salary is a strategic asset for management. Arthur Schopenhauer famously observed that human desire is like seawater. The more we drink, the thirstier we become. Corporations understand this psychological vulnerability perfectly. If they fully satisfy your financial thirst, you gain autonomy, and in a political hierarchy, an employee with autonomy is dangerous. By keeping your compensation compressed, they compress your risk tolerance. They ensure you stay just anxious enough to remain predictable, too terrified of losing your baseline security to ever stand up, look them in the eye, and walk away. You believe your low salary is a reflection of your work's worth, but you are playing checkers in a room built for chess. Your dedication is simply treated as free, background noise used to subsidize the political actors who know how to demand space. The mind that desperately begs to be recognized is simple to rule. The mind that silently constructs its own leverage becomes ungovernable. By the end of this video, you will not feel frustrated. You will feel insulated. You will understand the hidden metrics your boss uses to evaluate your price, the exact feedback loops you are accidentally handing them, and the 5 ruthless strategies required to completely reverse the information asymmetry. You are about to learn how to deny them access to your predictability, stop reporting like a worker, and start dictating your terms like a sovereign actor. 1. The dependency matrix. The first step to fighting back is understanding how the mechanism of your confinement is built. Balthazar Gracian once wrote that more is to be gained from dependence than from courtesy. The corporate world operates on this exact axis. When management underpays you, they are not executing a passive budget decision. They are maintaining a dependency matrix. They calculate a specific margin, the exact point where you are paid enough to sustain your daily life, but not enough to build a safety net that grants you mobility. If you cannot afford to skip a single paycheck, you cannot afford to say no to an unreasonable workload, a toxic environment, or an artificial deadline. Your low salary feeds your anxiety, and your anxiety feeds their control. To break this trick, you must stop treating your job as your psychological anchor. You must quietly detach your lifestyle from your emotional dependence on their approval and aggressively pivot your energy into building alternative revenue or market options in total secrecy. Let them think you are bound by necessity while you quietly sever the strings. 2. Denying emotional feedback. The second unyielding rule is this: never let them see the wound. When an employee realizes they are underpaid, their immediate instinct is to vent, to complain to peers, express frustration to managers, or bring emotional pleas into HR meetings. In Machiavellian terms, this reaction is not a display of strength, it is a confession. It signals your exact pressure points and reveals your behavioral map to leadership. When you complain, management doesn't see an undervalued asset. They see a predictable operator whose frustration is safely contained within words. They realize that you are still willing to do the work, meaning your resentment carries no immediate consequence. Niccolò Machiavelli observed that hierarchy is established through the control of emotional flow. The moment you become irritated, defensive, or eager to justify your worth, you surrender the initiative. You accept a lower position because you are responding inside a design they control. If you want to fight back, you must deny them this feedback loop. Treat your underpayment with absolute unreadable emotional neutrality. When they look for your panic or compliance, give them a wall. Stillness hides the machinery. When management can no longer read your internal state, their certainty collapses and they are forced to wonder exactly what move you are quietly preparing to make. 3. Strategic asymmetry. To reverse a suppressed wage, you must completely rewrite how your value is communicated. Hard-working people lose the corporate game because they believe silent performance speaks for itself. It does not. Sun Tzu taught that all warfare is based on deception. In the office, the corporate structure thrives on information asymmetry. They know the market benchmarks, the team budgets, and your peers' exact salaries, while you are kept completely in the dark. You must turn this asymmetry against them. Stop reporting your daily activities like a routine worker and start framing your outcomes like a sovereign strategist. Do not quietly take on extra assignments hoping for a future reward. Instead, silently document your precise metric impact, how you insulated a process from error, removed team anxiety, or protected a critical relationship. Gather hard external market data and internal resource gaps in absolute secrecy. Sun Tzu noted that the side controlling information controls the battle. While leadership assumes you are merely executing tasks in the background, you are quietly collecting data that makes your structural leverage absolute, ready to be deployed at the exact moment of your choosing. 4. Controlling corporate tempo. The fourth strategy requires you to fracture their timeline. Urgency in the workplace is rarely a natural phenomenon. It is an artificial constraint manufactured to compress your judgment and force premature compliance. When you demand a salary adjustment, management will immediately deploy time tactics to delay you. We will review this next quarter, or the budget is frozen until the fiscal end. If you accept their imposed speed, you surrender control. Machiavelli understood that whoever dictates tempo dictates behavior. Delay is not passivity, it is a structural disruption. When they tell you to wait, do not argue, do not push back, and do not show impatience. Instead, subtly remove your emotional investment from their calendar entirely. While they expect you to wait anxiously for their quarterly decision, you use that extended timeline to let your options mature elsewhere. By expanding your options in the background, you signal absolute independence from their review cycle. The individual who is comfortable waiting transfers the emotional weight to the opponent. You make their artificial timeline irrelevant, forcing them to hold the pressure while you remain entirely fluid. 5. Breaking the compliance script. The final step in Part 2 is the disruption of expectation. Enemies and corporations do not prepare for reality. They prepare for habits and predictable patterns. Management has mapped your behavior. They expect you to follow the standard script, scheduling a meeting, presenting a polite request, and accepting whatever compromise or delay HR offers. To break this compliance script, your final move must completely diverge from their forecast. You do not schedule an emotional plea to beg for what you deserve. Instead, you present your leverage as a finished narrative, an absolute, unassailable structural shift. When your value has peaked and they expect a familiar cycle of routine compliance, you introduce a sharp contrast. You present your documented impact, your market alignment, and your terms not as a point of negotiation, but as a sovereign choice. Machiavelli noted that strategic flexibility equals dominance under pressure. By refusing to play the victim or follow the expected corporate etiquette, you leave management holding an obsolete playbook. They are forced to evaluate your terms under a sudden weight of uncertainty, realizing that their easy map of your obedience has just collapsed entirely. Understand what these strategies are really teaching you. This is not about becoming hostile, nor is it about creating unnecessary friction with your manager. It is about reaching a state of psychological and structural untouchability. You do not need to rewrite the entire corporate structure. You simply need to rewrite your position within it. When you deny them access to your emotional reactions, isolate your metrics in absolute secrecy, and decouple your stability from their artificial timelines, the dynamics of the room shift automatically. You stop being a resource to be managed, and you become a sovereign force to be negotiated with. The corporate world will always protect its profit margins, but it respects what it cannot easily replace or predict. Stop letting them dictate your price. For the next 7 days, choose one of these 5 strategies and execute it in total silence. Watch who starts listening to you differently. If you are ready to reclaim your leverage, drop this affirmation in the comments. I control my value. And subscribe to Silent Authority. Because here, we don't discuss career advice the way HR wants you to hear it. We decode the hidden power games behind work, reputation, and success. Stay strategic, stay powerful,